Welcome, everybody, to episode 53 of the Pseudo Nerd Podcast. I'm your podcast host, Josh Kaiser, and joining me today, Josh Haddix.
How's everybody doing?
And Kyle Hoagland.
You know, you would think after doing 53 episodes of constantly telling us what the date is, you won't do it this time around.
You know, what's funny is I realized that afterwards, and I'm like, well, at this point, you know, what's the point?
Might as well rely on somebody else to call you out on it.
Yeah, you know, it is what it is. It's February 10th, for whatever that's worth. Normally, I have a computer screen in front of me where I'm reading this my rundown, and I put the date right there. But I did a bunch of homework, and I have all these sheets of paper scattered about, so I actually don't have the computer screen in front of me that normally has that. So I did not say the date. So there you go.
I just want to make sure that, you know, I believe our PM peers are thousands upon thousands of them. They have certain expectations, and one of them is they need to know what today's date is. All right, they're waking up Friday morning, they're feeling groggy, maybe they're having some toast, and they're listening to our podcast, and maybe they're like, "Man, what's today?" And we're there to provide that service to them. So I want to make sure we're not shortchanging our crowd.
Heaven forbid we give them anything worthwhile in the 90 minutes of the podcast, but as long as we give them the date and the episode number and who we are, that's really all they need.
Hey, man, remember you were in high school? And like sometimes the hardest questions was, what was your name and what was the date on tests? That was always the thing I had to turn around and like ask the guy next to me. Like, hey, what's
you
today's
didn't
date?
know your
What's your name?
There have been times where I've turned in tests without putting my name on it.
Well, forgetting to put your name on it is different than not knowing your name.
Well, regardless, it's still it's just as wrong as a wrong answer.
I don't even know how to respond to that. Coming up in today's podcast,
sitting in there in high school, like, shit, I don't know what my name is. I can't put it on here.
He turns around to the guy behind me. Hey, Brian. Yeah, Brian. What is my name? I'm really freaking out about this right now. I was just gonna leave it blank, but I don't want to miss it. So. But coming up today's podcast, we are going to discuss the most anticipated television shows debuting this year of 2017, as we are on February 10th of 2017. So we'll talk about everything from the Netflix, Hulu streaming shows to the network television shows to even those premium cable shows. So
strap in.
Pretty good. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun one, I think. But I guess before we get into it, we should briefly discuss the Super Bowl since we had our pseudo short preview last week.
It was looking good for me for a while.
You know, Kyle, you predicted two things: a Falcons win and a possibility of a low-scoring game. At one point in the second quarter, it was 0-0. And then all of a sudden, the Falcons had a 28-3 lead. And then Tom Brady happened, threw for almost 300 yards in just the fourth quarter. The Falcons had a Golden State Warriors-esque collapse, and Tom Brady has won his fifth Super Bowl.
The only thing I don't agree about with the whole Golden State thing is this was one game. So a lot can happen in one game. You know, the Patriots just got the momentum, took the momentum, and when you have the greatest quarterback of all time, that's what happens. Golden State had three chances.
Well, here's what I'm going to say. It is the Super Bowl. You're up by 25. You don't blow a 25-point lead in a football game.
I agree.
Now, that said,
the third quarter.
That said, Golden's like if you read all these stats, like it was the first time in like 180 NFL games when a team was up by like 18 or more in the fourth quarter that they lost. Like, I mean, there's just absurd stats like that. The only thing I will say that the Golden State Warriors I think is still worse is they had the unanimous MVP and the best regular season record ever. Exactly. So something the Falcons did not have.
The Patriots went into the game favored to win. Not by a lot, but favored to win. The Warriors went into the series favored to win. So, yeah, there's if the Falcons would have won it by that much, it would have been kind of a shock if they smoked them like that.
Right. So, I mean, still, overall, what it started out about 3 quarters in to be an a really boring, terrible Super Bowl really turned out to be quite a spectacular finish.
Unless you're from Atlanta or you're rooting for the Falcons. By the way, where do you rank Julian Edelman's catch as far as like Super Bowl catches of all time?
I mean, I don't even think it was the best catch in that game. I still think Julio's catch was ridiculous.
What I mean by it is that it meant so much that he caught that. Like, yeah, Julio Jones had a great catch, probably the catch of the day as far as skill. But then they had to punt, so it really meant nothing.
I mean, it's below the immaculate reception. It's below David Tyree's catch.
Is it below Santonio Holmes?
And that was going to be the third one. I think it is below that because of the where those ones were, the moment that those happened. And this one is right up there because it was important, but I don't think it was the best for that reason. Just timing of that moment. It wasn't a touchdown catch, that kind of thing. Apparently, Haddix has nothing more to add to that. So,
that's about what he does.
Anything else you guys have you want to make a point of or say in regards to the Super Bowl? Before
I'm very surprised there were no field goals. How many? There was one field goal in that whole game?
I think Gostowski made one, but the Falcons just every time they scored, it was a touchdown. That was the first time a team won a Super Bowl without ever making an extra point, which is kind of crazy if you think about it.
Oh, that is interesting, right? Yeah, he missed. He hit that. He doinked the first.
He missed the only one that he attempted. So because of that, they had to go for two.
And that's your boy too. That's your fantasy kicker right there.
Hey, I went to Justin Tucker. That was Haddix's boy this year.
I had Gostkowski this year.
No matter how I said it, I would have been right because I feel like either you or Kaiser always had Gostowski.
For what it's worth, I would not be shocked if he's not a New England Patriot next year. He really struggled this season.
Yeah, he did. And then the Super Bowl, luckily they won it anyway. But had they lost because of that extra point or something like that, that could have been.
It was tough. Well, they lost. In some ways, they lost the AFC Championship last year because he missed an extra point. They had to go for two at the end, didn't get it. So,
and Bill doesn't mess around with that stuff.
Right. So it'll be interesting. Also, kudos to James White for a monster 3-touchdown, 15-catch kind of day.
If it wasn't for the fact that Tom Brady threw for almost 600 yards,
I'll say you guys laughed at me when I said my X factor was Tom Brady, but
it's because it's hard to say when you have the best quarterback of all time and you say that's your X factor.
I don't consider him an X. For what it's worth, I said Malcolm Mitchell, who was the guy who was catching balls and leading that charge late in the game. It was Malcolm Mitchell.
If Tom Brady throws 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, that's a great game. They don't win that game. He had to be better than himself to win that game. I mean, the dude was unstoppable. That wasn't just a typical Tom Brady game. Okay,
it's true, and that's why he's got his 5th Super Bowl ring
and his 4th MVP.
Enough about all that. Let's move into the television shows.
So for this week's Test Your Knowledge, I know for the rest of this podcast, we'll be talking about anticipated shows, meaning shows that, haven't aired yet. But I thought it would be fun to see exactly what these two fools here know about current and past television trivia. So the current score of the Test Your Knowledge is 1-1. Kaiser made a blazing comeback last time to tie it up at 1. And so we are going to go into this one. Different format this time, guys. So both of you are going to stay on for it. Have you guys ever played the game Card Sharks or watched the TV show Card Sharks?
I watched Street Sharks as a kid, if that's anything similar.
I watched
the one
Shark
where it was like sharks with camo shorts.
Yes. Yeah, they were like John Cena as sharks, and then they were bullies, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotcha. So what I'm going to do, so the whole point of Card Sharks is the host would give a stat that was a number. So how many of blah did this? And then one person would give a number. They would make a guess at what the number was. And then the other person got to choose whether they thought that number was higher or if the actual number is higher or lower. So that's how we're going to do this. I've got 9 questions here. all of which are the answers are some sort of number. And because, Kaiser, you won the last one, I'm going to let you decide whether or not this first question, do you want to guess the number or do you want to guess higher or lower?
I'll guess the number. Try something.
You guess the number.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's get right down to it then. Question number 1. So the past 4 years or so, I think it has been where the Emmys have introduced or have allowed, production companies like Netflix and Amazon Prime and things like that to be considered for Emmy nominations. So since that has happened, how many Emmys has Netflix won?
I will go with 6.
Haddix, how many? Do you think that the number of 6 is higher or lower than the actual number? Or do you think the actual number is higher than lower than Kaiser's number of 6?
For what it's worth, not that I am going to give this answer on this question, but what if I think it's the exact same number Kaiser said? Can I do that?
No. If Kaiser knows the number, he gets the points.
Oh, okay, since he went first.
Yes.
Okay, all right. For what it's worth, I'm going to say higher on this one.
So from 2012 to 2016, Netflix has won 26 Emmys.
Boom.
That's what I said, 26. You guys didn't hear the 20?
His mic dropped out.
Did it cut out there?
It must have, but I mean, I have to be fair. That's what I heard. That's what the crowd heard. So, Haddix, you got the first point. So for this case now, whoever gets the point, I'm going to let them be the one to guess the number. So the next one, Haddix, you're going to give me the number, okay?
Okay.
How many episodes of the television show 24, not Legacy, your favorite show now, how many episodes of the original 24 have there been?
Oh, geez. Let me do some quick math here.
And no quick Googling, by the way.
160.
Kaiser, is that actual number higher or lower than 160?
I'm going to go the actual number is lower than 160.
The actual number is 204.
Holy
Get it?
crap.
24, 204.
Yeah, I didn't know how many seasons
How many
there were.
seasons was that show on television?
I thought it was like 10 years.
I didn't think it
At
was
least.
that. Wow. Okay.
At least 10 years.
It's all news to me. I never would have guessed that.
Haddix, you're up 2-0. Haddix, you got the next one here. Give me the number. How many episodes of all Law and Order franchises as of January 4th of this year have aired on TV?
I mean,
all of them. I think there's been like 7 show franchises.
I'm gonna say 1,050.
Kaiser, higher or lower?
Let's see here. Doing some quick math. It's higher.
The actual answer is 1,082.
Oh.
So it's a little higher.
Oh, wow. Hell of a guess, though,
That's as
Haddix.
of
I'll give you
January
that.
4th, by the way. So there's been even more since, but
Yeah.
not a whole lot more. I think, I don't know, SVU still going on and maybe another one.
I was going to say maybe 8 or so episodes at best or something, yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So, score right now is Kaiser 1, Haddix 2. Kaiser, you got this next one. How many Emmys has a Marvel television series won? How many Emmys has a
interesting.
Marvel television series earned?
Now, this would be all Marvel television series. Is that what you're saying?
All television series that
Not
are
ju-
produced by Marvel.
So how many total have they won? Okay.
How many Emmys have they won?
I will go with 3.
Haddix, higher or lower than 3?
Oh, shit. That's a good guess. I'm going to say higher.
The answer is 1. Jessica Jones is the only Marvel TV series that's won.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, scores tied 2-2. Guys, you got this one. Live action and animated. We're sticking with Marvel here. Live action and animated. Ongoing and in the past. How many Marvel television series have there been? both current and past, not
wow.
ones that are coming up or anything like that. These have already had
aired in some. Okay.
Yes.
I'll go with 12.
Haddix, is that number higher or lower?
God bless it. Lower.
The answer is 42.
Jesus. Wow.
Wow.
So Kaiser,
I got a
question streak here.
Yeah, no kidding. There had been a lot of animated television shows that really upped that number.
Yeah, I'm sure. So score is 3-2. Kaiser, here you are again. How many deaths have there been recorded on the television show Game of Thrones in the first 5 seasons?
We'll go with 139.
Haddix, higher or lower?
This is any deaths, right? Soldiers dying, everything.
Every death.
I got to go higher than that. Got to.
The correct answer is 704.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess if you count, I was thinking more like. Yeah. Okay.
There is a website that you can go to that they literally list all 704 of them. Just so you know. That's what you call a bit more nerdy than I can even handle. So score now is 3-3. Almost here, guys. Last 3 questions. Haddix, this is yours. How many hours would it take to sit down and without stopping binge watch the entire series of How I Met Your Mother? How many hours would it take?
9.
How many hours?
How many hours to watch How I Met Your Mother?
From episode 1 to
10.
the Schmosby.
Jesus.
I'm not gonna get spoilers.
800 hours.
Kaiser?
I will go lower.
It is much lower. 104. Each episode's probably roughly 20 minutes long.
20 minutes, yeah, right.
Oh, God, yeah. I didn't take... God damn. I was thinking TV, and they were all half hour. Not that would add a lot much more, but...
Yeah, this is for binge watching. All right, so Kaiser, you're up by 1. So here's the next one for you, Kaiser. How many times has Deborah Morgan from the show Dexter said the F word?
Oh, wow.
Oh, Jesus.
I will go with 666 times.
It's a lucky number. Haddix, higher or lower than the devil?
Seasons. There's 8, 9 seasons, something like that. 10 episodes a season. Lower.
996.
Ah, shit.
Wow.
So Kaiser, you're taking the win. You just clinched it, but let's go ahead and do this last one just to see if Haddix can get closer. This is for you again, Kaiser. How many days were the Oceanic 6 on the TV show Lost stuck on that island for? By the way, the Oceanic 6 obviously were the 6 that were rescued.
Right.
Dude, I've never seen the show, bro. Spoiler alert.
I'll go with 237 days.
Haddix?
I have
Higher
no
or lower?
idea, so I'm going to say lower.
108 days.
Well, rested.
Ah, damn.
So, unfortunately, Hags, I mean, it's a good job you got that one right, but Kaiser takes that one 5-4. Well done, Kaiser.
Thank you.
I'm still baffled by the 800 hours to watch How I Met Your Mother.
Hey, man, I was thinking there was commercials involved and pee breaks, so sorry, dude. You didn't say binge watching when you said the question.
I did.
So
I said,
call
I'm going to take the binge watch How I Met
I
Your
call
Mother.
shenanigans, bro. Shenanigans.
Were there any of those that surprised you, or you thought that, like, wow, that was a lot higher, or you know, any of those that were like, wow?
Yeah, I think the amount of Emmys that Netflix has won in a short period of time may have been one of the
Remember, this also counts with directing, writing. It's not always
sure, but I still think that's a lot for. I mean, they haven't been around that long of making their own originals, so I think it was an impressive number from my standpoint.
I think it was a nice homage that they stopped 24 at 204 episodes. I found that.
That one also blew my mind because I thought that show was only on for like 4 or 5 seasons. So,
hell no, man. Jack Bauer was torturing people for practically a decade at least.
all right, now let's get into the most anticipated shows of 2017, and what we're kind of do is we're going to break this up into categories based on sort of the medium that they are found on, and we're going to start with the premium cable channels. This is your Stars, your Cinemax, your HBO, show channels like that, and we kind of compiled this list from a variety of lists online because I'm going to be honest, a lot of these shows, even during my research, I had not heard about, and some I'm more excited for than others. But these seem to be the general consensus for the most anticipated shows. And we're going to jump right into it and go with HBO's The Young Pope. This one is actually, there's a couple on the list that have technically debuted as of January 1 of this year. Keep in mind, this is February 10th, 2017, for those of you who use us as a calendar.
All of them do.
Right. And so The Young Pope actually debuted back in mid-January, and it's stars Jude Law, and it kind of looks, and from the synopsis, I personally have, I don't know if have either of you guys, I guess before we kind of talk about the show, have either of you seen this show yet?
What's odd about this is the fact that it's already been on TV for a little under a month. I have not heard nor seen anything about this show until it was on this list for us to talk about today.
Now there's only been like what, 2 episodes, 3 episodes out right now?
2 or 3 episodes have debuted, or have shown. And Haddix for it's, I guess when it comes to HBO shows, if you don't have HBO, you're not necessarily going to see a lot of advertising done on normal television because they don't cater to that. You might catch you might catch somebody on social media or something like that.
And I think that's more. I think that's more it is. I haven't heard. There's actually been 5 episodes. The 5th episode aired February 5th.
Okay,
it's 2 days ago. And I haven't seen anything on and again, you can't really compare it to a Game of Thrones, but after a Game of Thrones episode airs, it's all over the place. You know what I mean?
Right. And Game of Thrones is also picked up over the seasons.
Yeah.
At this point, it has its established fan base.
Right. And for this one, so the only reason I have actually heard about it prior to this is from being in hotels, because they give you those little pamphlets that's like an HBO guide, like show guide, what's shown on HBO, and it was the front cover for it. So for those of you who are interested in or want to know what it's about, basically Jude Law stars in it, and he kind of plays this young sort of unorthodox pope, and basically it sounds like he's almost the cool pope. Smokes and kind of
wears a leather jacket, rides a Harley.
Something to that
classic
effect. Right. Yeah, but I guess what happens is he was elected in as the position as a political move because they thought they could control him, and it turns out you can't control Jude Law. And that's sort of the premise of the show.
They fought Jude Law, and Jude Law won, right?
There you go. And I guess they debuted the show, I think, in Venice last year, and it seemed to do really well. It was HBO marketed it with they teamed up with a couple of British production companies to come together with this, and it seems like it sort of has a funny sort of twisted take on the Pope and political sort of back dealings and that kind of thing. So I don't know if you guys watched the trailer or not for it, but did either of you have any thoughts that you thought like, this is something you want to check out, or you're going to kind of wait and see?
I did watch a trailer, and I mean, it didn't seem bad, and I read through the kind of the diagnostics, Jesus, the synopsis.
Synopsis, that is the word you were looking for.
And it doesn't seem bad, especially if it's the kind of thing that interests you. But for me personally, I don't really, the whole religion, political thing, doesn't. And I'm sure there, like you said, could be some funny parts, intertwined in it and things like that. But it's not something that I will watch. But that doesn't mean that it's not good or anything like that. It doesn't pique my interest at all.
I have a hard time getting into a television series. I think I'll tell you what, this podcast is the only reason why I am now into Game of Thrones. Because when we decided that we were going to do Game of Thrones, I hadn't watched a single episode of it. And I binge watched the crap out of it, got caught up with it, loved it, and now I'm looking forward to it, obviously. But just that's probably been the first show and even then I binge watched it, and that's always been the thing that I have always enjoyed about being able to watch TV these days. But being able to sit down at a certain time to watch TV, it's, never been my thing. I've never really cared for Jude Law. I feel like all of his movies that he's been in have either been like snooze fests or, romantic comedies. And I'm sure he's a great actor. He's pretty well acclaimed. I like Diane Keaton more than I like Jude Law.
Yeah, so I was going to make a comment. Yeah, that's the other big star, and this is Diane Keaton, and I believe she plays sort of and I don't know the religious hierarchy, but she apparently is high up in there, and I think she thought she was going to be able to control Jude Law, and cannot. So that's sort of the premise.
She raised Jude Law's character in the orphanage. She's a nun.
Oh, okay, so there you go. But that's about all we can say about it. It's me personally, I don't think I'm gonna check it out. I don't really, to your point, Haddix, it's not really an interest to me. If it gets rave reviews and people swear by it, then maybe I'll check it out down the line. But I got plenty of other shows that I can watch in front of this one.
Yep.
The next one on the list is another HBO show, and this one is Big Little Lies. And this one, I get the impression, is sort of like suburban women living the rich life, have a great life, a family life, and then something goes wrong and there's a murder involved. And that's sort of it's, the trailer, a lot of these things we're going off of little, knowledge. Obviously, the shows, you're not going to have a ton to go off of other than a trailer or a quick synopsis that you might see, or if it's based on a book, you might have a little bit better idea. This is one, the synopsis that I read on one website was 3 mothers with kids at kindergarten become friends. A friendship that will end in murder. So, that's kind of what we've got going here. Reese Witherspoon and Nicole Kidman are kind of 2 of the headliners in this. So, from that aspect, I'm kind of intrigued because I like Reese Witherspoon myself as far as an actress goes. This kind of I got a little bit of a Revenge, that TV show on ABC. I got a little bit of that kind of vibe from the very little I've been able to read or see from the trailer. But that's sort of my thought, and I guess it's one of those I don't think I'll check out right away, but I may take a look at it.
So according to HBO here, there's a quick paragraph. It's told through the eyes of the 3 mothers, which I'm assuming are Reese. Jesus Christ.
It's Reese, Nicole, and Shailene Woodley. I think they're the 3 mothers.
Big Little Lies paints a picture of a town fueled by rumors and divided into haves and have-nots, exposing the conflicts, secrets, and betrayals that compromise relationships between husbands and wives, parents and children, and friends and neighbors. So yeah, I feel like it's kind of the story of what seems to be a perfect little neighborhood town, but a bunch of stuff's going on. I know that Lindsay and I will be watching this purely because she absolutely loves Skarsgård after we watched True Blood. So we will definitely be tuning in to watch Big Little Lies when it airs.
Wasn't he also Tarzan?
Yes, we have not seen that yet, but she loved him, and I got to admit, he did a pretty good job in True Blood. So him mixed with the few high name actresses here, Lindsay and I will definitely be watching this one when it comes out.
This one I'd be more interested in the young Pope. I know some of the guys. I know the Adam Scott's in it. I've always liked everything he's been in. I'm also a Skarsgård fan. I'm okay with Reese Witherspoon. I mean, she's okay. I'm not yes or no about it. I actually really like Nicole Kidman and the things she's done. And it also reminds me how truly old Lenny Kravitz actually is, because his daughter, who's almost 30 years old, is in this show.
Yeah.
I still thought Lenny Kravitz was like in his late 30s. I thought he was like Justin Timberlake's age or something. Apparently I was wrong.
Guess not. So it looks funny enough. Out of the two shows we've said, we're all kind of more on the Desperate Housewives meets Revenge television show.
Yeah, as it seems like it. Like I said, nothing against the young Pope, but I feel like that's more of a wait and see. If it gets rave reviews, then maybe I'll go back to it. Whereas Big Little Lies, I wouldn't mind finding out what it's like at the beginning and make up my own mind about it.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's move on to the next show here, and that's another HBO show. It's kind of a theme here. HBO seems to be the premier of the premier cable shows as far as the ones that they really do make the best television shows when it comes to them and Stars and Showtime and stuff. And yeah, the other ones have a couple here and there, but you always kind of give the benefit of the doubt to HBO. And the next one is The Deuce, which just off the name alone is fantastic. This one is James Franco's in it, and it's about the porn industry in New York back in the 70s, and how the mob was connected and things like that. I also think Maggie Gyllenhaal is in it.
Yes, she is.
And she's also a producer. I first looked at the lineup. It didn't give me a cast, but I saw that she was a producer.
Yeah, she's playing Eileen Candy Morrell, or whoever that is.
So I'm going to guess she is going to be in one of the porn actresses, based on that. But this is this intrigues me. I don't think there was a trailer for this one. I saw a couple. Wasn't. I think there was a HBO release like a trailer with a bunch of random clips from all these different shows, like just quick flashes that someone like cut out and made a quick animated GIF of, and there was 4 or 5 scenes. And when I say scenes, it was really it's almost like photos from this show. But
this is also in the, just so people understand, this is also taking place in the 70s, so you're going to see a lot of porn stashes.
You are going to see a lot of porn stashes, and in fact, you're probably going to see a lot of boobs as well, because it's a porn-related movie.
I was just trying to find it here while we were talking, but I swear when I was looking all these up earlier, I read an article that the director promised just as much male nudity as female nudity.
So that was this show. Okay, because I read the exact same quote, and I couldn't remember. There's this one, and there's another show that's on here, and I thought it might have been the other show. But yes, I did hear that they said there'd be as much male nudity as there is female nudity.
Yeah, there'll be some meat hanging.
Yeah, so I mean, this is solid cast. I'm kind of intrigued with the idea of the porn industry and the mob set in New York City. It's a nice timepiece.
And apparently Franco's playing twins. He's playing Vincent and Frankie Martino.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, now looking down here, I got some synopsises in front of me. Is it synopsi? What is the plural of synopsis?
Synopsises?
Synopsises? Yeah, there we go. And it does say James Franco stars as twin brothers.
Yeah, so yeah.
That's that'll be interesting. But yeah, so
but we don't have much to go off about this.
No, at this point, it's still
synopses. By the way, is the plural.
Synopses. There you go.
There you go. This one's. I should have said. I don't think I mentioned a Big Little Lies that it's debuting in about 2 weeks. This one, The Deuce, is just scheduled in the fall sometime, is what they're thinking. No official release date at this point. It could even be summer or something. So, I think I'm going to keep an eye on this and see where it goes from here.
Especially if it comes out when there's not much else on. It could definitely be something to tune in, like kind of that summerish time where there's not a whole lot of new TV on. You might catch it.
Yeah, and boobies.
Yeah, sure. So now we'll talk about a show that's not on HBO, and this is the Starz television show called American Gods. I believe this is based off a novel. And I don't know, did you guys check out the trailer for this?
The only thing I saw from the trailer was that it's called American Gods, and everybody who's in it are British or Australian actors.
Well,
I just found that kind of funny.
It's funny to me is the show is the trailer looks, I don't know, the guy gets out of prison and his wife's dead, and it's kind of gritty, kind of bloody looking just on the scenes. And I'm kind of watching it, I'm like, okay, like, it looks interesting. And then I read the synopsis, and I realize the trailer looked nothing like the synopsis. So the synopsis is, an ex-con is drawn into orbit of the shady Mr. Wednesday before discovering he is actually the Norse god Odin, and that all ancient gods exist but are passing off as mortal humans because no one believes in them any longer, and they're plotting against the new thriving gods such as technology and media. If you saw the trailer, you would not have guessed any of that.
I know we talked about How I Met Your Mother. You remember the episode where Barney is in like a theater group, and so is Lily, and she's like, "I'm Greed, I'm this." Like that's how I kind of like imagine this. Is like there's people who are just acting as certain things like greed or technology, Odin, and this kind of stuff. It's like it's just like regular people just being gods or being like a particular feeling or a particular vice. And I feel like that's what this is kind of leaning towards.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you about the trailer and the synopsis. If it sticks to the synopsis, I enjoy things about, Greek gods and things like that, and like that kind of old timey stuff. Obviously, it's set in current time, and the gods are just mortals or whatever. So if it was better than the trailer, I would definitely check it out. But yeah, to your point, it did not seem like that when you watched it.
No, it didn't. And one other point I wanted to make about this is, I looked at it like a cast because it's based off a book and of the same name, I believe. And it was like, yeah, okay, the one guy plays Odin. There's a Loki. There's a Queen of Sheba, and there's a guy who is Johnny Appleseed. It just seems so random, but they list all these like Egyptian gods and stuff in it. Like, it just seems so bizarre that Johnny Appleseed would be in there.
Well, looking at this cast, actually, Dane Cook is in this movie. There's actually a decent amount of maybe not A-list celebrities, but a lot of celebrities Gillian Anderson is in this, like celebrities that you've seen in a lot of things.
Oh yeah, the main character, and I for some reason didn't write his
Ian
name
McShane
down.
as Mr. Wednesday.
Brian Fuller is the frontliner guy. Oh no, I'm sorry, not Brian Fuller. Ricky Whittle.
Ricky Whittle, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a pretty solid cast. So we'll see.
Yeah, it could be interesting.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna take an eye on it and see what happens.
There's a guy whose name's Mexican Jesus in the movie, so
you keep calling it a movie, dude. It's a television show.
Or a television show.
This entire podcast is about television shows. All right,
about TV movies, also known as television shows.
So that's kind of the list of the premium cable shows. A quick honorable mention, which is a big deal to some people, not to myself, but that is Twin Peaks. And technically it doesn't fit the criteria because all these shows are supposed to be new. This Twin Peaks, which is now, I think it was canceled back in the early 90s, I think it's 27 years later, they're making season 3. So it's a very strange thing.
I think it's also just like a limited series. I think it's like an event series. So it's season 3, but I don't think it doesn't seem like it's going to. I think they're doing it to end it. I don't think they're doing it to continue it. You know what I mean? I don't think there's going to be like a season 4 after it. You know what I mean?
It might be one of those they're going to test the waters and see what happens, because what happened in Twin Peaks is basically the whole premise was like who killed Laura Marshall or something like that, and it was doing really well, and then all of a sudden they were going to get canceled, so they just rushed it and midway through said, oh, this is who did it, and it kind of like tanked in the second season then because of it, and now they want to go back and revisit it.
It was one of those cult following shows where it didn't do well when it came out, and then later...
it started out really well. Like it debuted at like 20 million viewers. But then it fell off. But to your point, it became kind of a cult classic.
Right.
So it's an interesting thing. If you watch the trailer for it, it's literally a guy eating a donut for 30 seconds.
Sounds like my kind of show.
Yeah, seriously. I was just like, whoa, wait a minute.
That's edge of your seat entertainment right there.
As for me, I do not want to see it.
He said donut. It was too early for me. I was 5 when that show got canceled, I believe, 5 or 6. So, that was not on my list of interests, was Twin Peaks. So I don't think I'll be too interested in either. Plus, I don't even think I have Showtime.
Yeah, I will not watch it either, so. And here we are again at the most popular segment of the Pseudo Nerd Podcast, and that is the List segment.
Literally the worst name I have ever heard.
With your host, Josh Addis. Oh, God. So we're going to do something a little bit like what Hoagie did. Even though this week's episode is about TV shows for 2017 that are new in 2017, we're going to go ahead and do a list of shows that should be canceled. This is according to ScreenRant.com, and the article was titled 10 TV shows that need to be canceled. So what I'm going to do is jump in here. I'm going to give the top 5, that I think were the most controversial from this guy's list, not of my own. And I'm going to give you a quick sentence or two of what the gentleman said about the show, and then we can delve into it a little further if we'd like. So you guys ready?
Let's do it.
All right. His number 10, and the first one that I'm going to go over, is Two Broke Girls. And he said, Two Broke Girls has been a frequent candidate for TV fans' ideal chopping block since its debut in 2011, and the latest season is no different. Frankly, the most impressive thing about the sitcom is that it's been on the air as long as it has. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I got to be honest, I've seen a couple of episodes here and there, and it literally seems like it's just the same thing over and over. I'm not an avid viewer of it, so I can't say whether I think it's, oh no, it needs to stay going. But I never understood it. I think maybe part of the reason that it's stayed on as long as it has is because the two broke girls are two attractive girls.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. And I also think it's, with CBS shows, sometimes if you get into that sweet spot, you just kind of stay on television. And if you're not canceled within a year, you just kind of keep getting renewed. But I agree. I think from someone who doesn't watch the show, other than an episode here and there, it wasn't good then, and I don't think it needs to stay on.
Is it worth the fact that it's been up for 6 seasons now? And I mean, I don't know. I think I've only maybe watched the equivalent of one season altogether of different episodes. It's not a bad show. It's just, and I think that's where Kaiser's saying, like, when you hit that purgatory of just like, is it bad? Is it bad with ratings? Not really. Is it winning any awards? No. But I think they also kind of went they kind of jumped all in on this show. Like they had both of them hosting a bunch of award shows a few years ago, and it's kind of just hit that middle ground. Kind of maybe the last couple of years of How I Met Your Mother was, where it was just kind of sputtering out a little bit, but it's at the same time their fan base is there, and I think people that don't really care much for it are going to want to go. But then again, what are you going to replace it with?
Yeah. So. Fair enough. I can't stand the show personally. I think the jokes are horrible. It reminds me of 2.5 Men, which also was on way past its prime. But anyway, their number 8 was The Big Bang Theory. And his little sentence here is, while some might find it amusing to still see Sheldon Cooper having to be coaxed into doing the most basic of tasks after 9 seasons, it's gotten old.
As somebody, now this is one I can speak on. I've watched every single episode. I still DVR and watch the new episodes. I agree. It's overdue. The jokes at this point, I feel like I could write an episode, and I feel like sometimes when I'm watching it, I know exactly where the punchlines are going to be before they're even said, because it's very recycled formula at this point. And, everything that's happened that everything major that's happened has pretty much happened at this point, storyline-wise. Spoiler alert, Penny and, I can't even think of the main character's name now.
Leonard,
there we go. Leonard and Penny got together. They're married. Howard and Bernadette have a kid. Sheldon and I can't think of her name now off the top of my head. Are together
Blossom?
now. Yeah, the girl from Blossom, right? Amy, there you go.
Amy.
Sheldon and Amy are together. They've had sex. Raj has dated multiple girls. I mean, they're one Sheldon and Amy wedding and possibly a Raj wedding away from pretty much doing everything possible, or unless they want to give Leonard and Penny a kid at this point. So, I mean, what it was the first 4 or 5 seasons really was like something special, and now just like any show that goes on too long, they just kind of recycle things and try to redo the same jokes over and over. So, yeah, I'm all for finishing it, letting them walk off into the sunset.
It needed to finish when Leonard and Penny got married. I feel like that was the end game of the show. I think a lot of people also agree with that as well. That was ultimately they dated for a little bit, they broke up, but you can still tell that it was fate that they were going to end up being together, permanently. It finally happened. To me, that was like their marriage, their wedding should have been the series finale of the show. I think everything else now, like I said, it's just coasting along, and it's just turns into the what do you replace it with? I'm just guessing that CBS doesn't have something lined up to take that slot when they're ready to go, and so they're just going to keep on giving those guys enormous amounts of money to have a slowly decaying entertainment of a show.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to find out any show that's done better after the main love interest, that like sexual tension, like they've gotten together. I feel like every show, once that happens, it slowly goes down after that. Like that's kind of the culmination.
Right. Yep.
But anyway, back on to the next one. Number 5 on their list was Family Guy. His little sentence was, "We've reached a point where the series is dragging out longer than a fight between Peter and the chicken and making even less sense. It's time for Fox to say goodbye once again before its legacy is tarnished beyond repair."
Yeah, I don't. Sorry, Kyle. I guess I keep going first in this, but I'm fine with that. I think Family Guy has kind of reached that Simpsons level where they are just doing things for the sake of doing it. It's not like South Park where they're continuing to come up with new stories that are built on current events. They sort of just do their own thing with pop culture references and a story built around it. Yeah, I'm fine. I agree. At some point, you're going to run to the point where you become The Simpsons, and not in the good way.
So I also just throw in the same argument I'm going to give with most of these shows that say that it's time to go. And that's, why? Like, what's going to replace it? You made a good point about the whole stuff, the kind of like the Simpsons comparison. Is there were reasons to cancel them after 2 seasons when they were canceled the first time. They didn't come back and all of a sudden change the way they were doing the show. It's just people missed the show and they kind of realize you don't know what you have until it's gone type of thing. They get Family Guy back, and then I think it was canceled again at some point in the middle of all that stuff. Came back again, and it's just it's all the same. And I still think it's good. I've watched it. I watched a little bit there. It is what it is. That thing is, you take it for what it's worth. If you're expecting some sort of build on story or something like that, then you're watching the wrong show. I mean, like I said, you go back to The Simpsons. Maggie's still a baby, and so is Stewie. So it's still the same, magic of television where it's almost like time stands still. I'm fine with them staying on the air. I don't think it hurts that it stays.
All right, the next one, number 4 on their list, and I kind of threw this on there for a couple of reasons. I know Kaiser's watched it. I've seen it. And the little shout out that he gives in his sentence here, and you guys will get it here in a second. Once upon a time, and his little quip here is throw in repeated amnesia storylines, time travel, and alternate realities, and even for a fairy tale, Once Upon a Time is stretching viewers' credibility thin. At this point, all the show needs is to throw in a few Final Fantasy characters for it to effectively become a convoluted live-action version of the Kingdom Hearts game.
I kind of hate that last line, but outside of that, as someone who plays Kingdom Hearts, I take offense to that. Except for the convoluted part, I understand that. That said, Once Upon a Time hasn't been good since season 2. That first season was fantastic. It was magical, no pun intended. It was really well written, and now they just try to throw the next character they can and try to tie it in, and it's just like he says, amnesia, a new curse every year, and it's just like, oh, how are they going to break this curse? It is over and done with. I continue to watch it because I'm a masochist and I start in the beginning and I have to watch a show till its end. But I agree completely. They need to end this show.
You say that, but have you even finished Dexter yet? You said
no.
You've been watching that?
No.
So I'm just saying, that doesn't always apply with you in television shows, but I have only seen maybe 3 or 4 episodes of it, none of which in the first 2 seasons. I guess because of that, I thought that the episodes felt fresh and kind of fun for me. But once again, I don't have enough backstory with my experience with that show to have the same feeling that Kaiser has. But I do see that there's not a whole lot to look forward to when like season 3 ends and you go to season 4. It doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of universal build or anything like that. So I'm okay with it going as well.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with both of you, so I won't delve too much into it. But the number one, and this is the big one, and it's got brought up a couple times here, is The Simpsons. So this is what this guy had to say about it. South Park said it best. Any idea you might have for a TV show plot, The Simpsons already did it. It pioneered comedic cartoons for adults. It established the formula for so many animated families, and it's still one of the most quoted TV shows out there. But after nearly 30 years on air, it's simply done everything there is for it to do.
Yeah, I don't even know how it's still on television in the aspect of like, I don't, at some point, if I'm Matt Groening, I would be like, guys, I'm done. I'm done trying to come up with ideas. I'm just done. Like he says, you can respect everything that show has done. It really did pioneer a lot of things. It was one of the first vulgar kind of cartoons of its time. But I haven't watched it in years. I catch an episode here and there. It like Kyle said about Family Guy, you know what you're getting out of it. But I just, I don't know how they're still staying on there and still writing new episodes.
They're running into the problem of you can't change much with these shows because you have your loyal watchers who I'm sure would love to see some excitement, but they don't want to see change, and that's the real problem. The example I give now is when Family Guy killed Brian off. They thought that was going to be something that was going to, because they were seeing, ratings starting to drop a little bit. They felt they needed to move on with something. Then, what was something they could do to draw attention back to the show? And they killed off Brian. I wouldn't say like a crazy, main character, even though Brian is considered a main character, but it's not like the equivalent of killing off Peter or Stewie or something like that. But when that happened, it just got so much backlash and, boycotts and just petitions to bring him back. It almost just woke up the fan base again. And it was one of the highest rated television shows for the next 3 or 4 weeks because of that. And then when they finally brought him back, and then when everything was back to normal, everybody just kind of went, they dropped their picket signs and went, just did their regular watching. I'm afraid that the Simpsons are going to have that same problem. They're going to try and do something that's going to bring some shock value, maybe a death in the family or whatever the case may be. And it's going to get backlash. People are going to hate it. Then they're going to go back to doing what they're normally doing. Everyone's happy. And the show's going to have a slow death. So see, I agree it should go, but it's not.
Yeah, I hope it goes before that. I hope before they try to do something crazy, they just say, you know what, let's just hang it up. Because then that'll just ruin it.
All right, now we're going to move on to the most anticipated streaming shows of 2017, and this is majority Netflix, but there might be some Amazon and Hulu listed shows on this as well. As Kyle alluded to earlier, 26 Emmys have gone to Netflix, and if you look at the list of Netflix originals that are coming out this year, it is insane the amount of television they're doing. They really changed the landscape of TV when they brought out House of Cards. What was that, back in 2012 or so, creating a way of watching television all at once. You can binge watch, and they've really just continued to grow with it. And the first few that we're going to name are all Netflix originals. And we'll start with the Santa Clarita Diet. This one debuted, or I say debuted, the whole season's been released a few days ago, about a week ago actually, from the February 10th, 2017 podcast that this is. And this one, Drew Barrymore kind of stars in it. She wakes up one day and finds out she's dead, but not totally dead. She is a zombie, for lack of a better word. And her husband, played by
Timothy
Oliphant, who I know from Scream 2, but he was also in Justified and...
Fantastic show, by the way.
Okay. And Deadwood, I believe he's also in. So he plays her husband, and he said, hey, it looks like the whole family's in on it, knows that mom's a zombie and needs to eat humans to stay alive. And they say, yeah, we're going to support you to do this. And it sort of has a little Dexter feel where they're going to...
That's what I wrote down.
That's what they're like, hey, we're going to need to kill someone to feed, but let's kill somebody that...
bad people.
Bad people. And actually, the joke in the trailer is, let's find a single Hitler. So they're almost trying to be heroes. And they totally botched the whole thing. It looks like it's basically a comedy... sort of style where they're trying to kill people and live this life of a zombie and family life, and all things go wrong.
It actually looks... I had no interest in this before. I had seen it pop up on Netflix and didn't think twice, even though I do like Timothy Oliphant, and Drew Barrymore's whatever. But after watching the preview for it, or the trailer for it, it actually looks like it might be, have some funny moments, maybe a little bit of a good storyline mixed in there. I might actually end up checking this out if I get bored one day.
Yeah, I think this is a television show that might be good to sit down with the boyfriend or girlfriend or something like that and kind of sit through. And I don't know how long the episodes are, if they're 30 minutes or, closer to an hour. But it seems like a nice, easy show you can kind of watch and just... kind of not, think too hard about while you're watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this definitely seems like laid back watching. I don't think there's going to be one of those like, oh man, I can't wait to watch. There's not going to be a whole lot of suspense, I feel like, with this show. So this is definitely a watch at your own leisure type of series, and a lot of those are missing. Like I feel like everybody tries to catch that lightning in a bottle of a show that you just can't wait to see that next episode. But sometimes you don't want that. Sometimes you just want a show that maybe has a little bit of the story from before that carries on over to the other, but nothing that's going to probably kill the vibe of the show. So I think that's probably what this is going to be more about, and I actually am going to watch it. It's definitely on my list of watching.
Yeah, the next one on our list is sort of the opposite and is going to have a little bit more thought put behind it, a little more, you got to watch closer, and that's the Iron Fist show, which is debuting in mid-March. And for those of you who have not watched any of the Marvel television shows on Netflix, the 2 seasons of Daredevil and Jessica Jones and Luke Cage, this is the next installment of that. And those are phenomenal shows. And Iron Fist looks like it's going to just be the next successor in that line of great Marvel shows on Netflix. And this is probably one of the most anticipated shows of the year for Netflix. Haddix or Hoagie, do you know much about the Iron Fist character?
I do not. Other than the little bit I've read going into this show, but I was never a huge Marvel fan, nor did I do a lot of research or reading into his character.
Yeah, so
I've actually read a couple of the comics, because I think I accidentally thought that he was, I don't know why, I thought this was like some weird, he almost looked like Venom in one of the comics that I read, that I looked at the front cover of, because it was like a big like black shadow then I found out it was just the chest, and I thought that when I was a kid, I thought that white mark on his chest, which is actually a dragon, I thought that was part of like Venom's face. And then so I went and I opened it up like, oh, it's a Venom comic, and then I realized it was the Iron Fist, who is not Venom at all. But at least I do know what his powers are and how he got them, so that I at least know that much.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they do it for this show. They've stuck fairly well to the comics, but kind of put their own spin on it with things. This is going to be taking place in the same, New York City area that the other ones have taken place in. The Hand is still going to be one of the main foes, which ties in with all the other, at least the Daredevil and Luke Cage end of things. And then I guess Iron Fist himself is going to be played by Finn Jones, who Game of Thrones fans might know as Loras Tyrell. And it's, all I can say is the other ones are good. This one should be pretty good too. So I will definitely be checking this show out.
I have a feeling this one might rank up there right after Daredevil for me, just because of the action that's going to be involved as well.
I mean, they haven't messed it up yet. So I feel like they're right now they're playing with house money with Netflix. So even if this wasn't great, I'm sure a ton of people are going to watch it.
And even more people are going to watch the next one on our Netflix list, and that is The Defenders, which is basically the Avengers for the Netflix television show. This will have Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, and Luke Cage all teaming up together. And this one's going to debut sometime in the summer. And this is like I said, this has been the Avengers build-up for the Netflix Marvel shows. So a lot of high hopes, a lot of high expectations for this one, and they've been delivering so far. I think this one could be a fantastic show.
Yeah, we don't know much about this other than the 4 characters are in it. So, I guess we can't touch on much there, but I agree. I think with how well Marvel did Avengers, and although they're technically separate entities now, the movies and the TV shows, that is, not Marvel, but I have a feeling that it's going to be I think it's going to top any of the other shows as far as viewed on Netflix.
And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking more into it. It looks like it's just going to be like an 8-episode miniseries. So I don't think there's going to be I don't think there's any talks of like a season 2 or season 3, because obviously these all have their own singular, titular name series anyways. unless they've already came out and said they're not moving forward with another Jessica Jones or something like that. But I would assume that with everything that's going well, especially with Jessica Jones, that they would continue the solo project series. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to the Defenders, but I'm very curious of how well it goes if they decide to expand this to not just a miniseries.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, and you have to think that there might be some more crossovers and things like that going forward, whether it's a Defenders show or something else, and that begins even come later this year. It says a 2017 release, but they don't really have a date or time set for it yet, and that's The Punisher, who debuted, played by John Bernthal from Walking Dead fame, and he played the Punisher in Season 2 of Daredevil, was absolutely phenomenal, and really, really looking forward to his, having his own show at that point. So that'll kind of wrap up the Marvel Netflix shows, and they've been great so far, and I don't foresee that not being the case with any of these ones.
Yeah, I mean, similar to Defenders, we don't know a whole lot about it, but I agree. I think he did an amazing job as the Punisher. Really loved how they did his character, and I have a feeling it's going to be a graphic season, which they all kind of are, but I could see his own thing being very, very graphic, and it'll be really entertaining.
And so, as somebody who I think the Punisher is probably maybe my third favorite comic, I really hope that they give it the justice that it deserves, and I hope they don't put kid gloves on it, because it's supposed to be very violent. It's supposed to be very it's a very lethal comic. So if there's going to pussyfoot around the violence, I'm going to be a little upset, because this is supposed to be one of the most violent stories.
If Season 2 of Daredevil and his portrayal and the way they portrayed his character in it is any indication, you're going to get plenty of violence and plenty of grit.
Yeah.
And that said, we got one more Netflix show, not a Marvel one, sort of a lighthearted one, and this is it kind of falls in the sequel end of things, so it's sort of not exactly fit with the rest of it, and that's the Wet Hot American Summer 10 Years Later. Supposed to be released at some point this year. This is sort of the third that they made. Netflix came out and made a prequel to Wet Hot American Summer. They did the First Day at Camp. Came out a year or two back. And then the joke is, the trailer, if you watch it, is actually a scene from the original movie where they say, hey, let's meet back here in 10 years. And they're like, yeah, but what time? And then they say, like, 9. Well, let's say 9, and they get here at 9:30, that kind of thing. So that's the trailer, which is just entertaining. So if you've watched any of the other ones, it's worth a watch, because I thought the other ones were really well done and entertaining.
I've not seen when the first one on Netflix came out, the prequel. Like, I wanted to watch it, and I just never got around to it. So I'd have to watch that one before this. But it did definitely look comical. So I might have to try to fit that in my busy schedule.
I'm definitely looking forward to it. It's a lot. Back when it first came out, it had a lot of the I forgot what the name of the comedy troupe is that there's like Michael Ian Black and those guys. All of them kind of getting like their first taste at I guess of a movie.
The Upright Citizens Brigade.
I think that might be it. It's with Amy Poehler and all them too.
Yeah,
I think that is it. So I've always enjoyed them. It was hilarious to watch Cooper go from skinny to fat to I don't know what he's going to be in this next one. And yeah, it's supposed to be the years before. But I mean, as far as everyone who's in it, Kristen Wiig and Molly Shannon, Paul Rudd, these are
all-star cast.
I mean,
yeah.
It's an all-star cast of people who are funny. So Bradley Cooper and once again Amy Poehler. So Hags, if you haven't seen it yet, see it. As far as the first year, it's really funny. It's funnier definitely to see the movie first, and then to see them as they are now and how different they look. It's a bunch of people in their mid-30s till maybe early 40s playing teenagers. It's pretty funny.
Absolutely. And that's it for the Netflix shows. Real quick, we'll mention a Hulu show, The Handmaid's Tale. This comes out in late April. And if you were watching the Super Bowl, they actually debuted the trailer during the Super Bowl. And it's based off a book, and I guess the concept has something to do with women are not able to have... It's declining the amount of women that can have babies, I guess. So they kind of... There's a commander who's basically impregnating these women, and they bring women along. He's married, and they're bringing women in to have his babies, but then that's all they're supposed to do is they come in, they have his babies, and then he stays with his wife, but he ends up having a relationship on the side with one of them. Shenanigans take place then.
Again, this isn't probably my kind of TV show, although I could see Lindsay wanting to watch it, so I might end up. The one upside is my girl Yvonne Strahovski's in it, so I might actually enjoy watching it.
Yes, it's funny is she plays Serena Joy, which is the only character of the main bill of 10 characters that has a first and last name. She's also playing the commander's wife, who's basically the one getting cheated on and stuff. Yeah. The other one of the main women protagonists is played by the girl from Gilmore Girls. So I have a feeling I'll be stuck watching this show as well, Haddix.
Well, I think the only downfall of this is that I don't have Hulu, so I don't know what to do because I think it's only on Hulu, right? So Hulu exclusive.
Correct.
So I might have to pull a Haddix and see if I can borrow someone's account, right?
Dude, no one has Hulu, bro, or I'd have it, because I actually don't have Hulu either. But
so how are you going to watch it?
I'm not going to condone everything, but there's other ways to watch TV shows if you don't have.
There you have it. And then one more thing, we all have Amazon Prime, so we can watch this last show, and that's I Love Dick. And I merely put this show on there because it's got a great title. As far as the trailer goes, it's literally Kevin Bacon, who plays a professor named Dick, and some woman talking to him about his name being Dick and not Richard.
Yeah.
And literally the synopsis, I think, is she's married, moves into town, and is infatuated with this guy named Dick.
I think him and her husband are both infatuated with him, aren't they? It's like a...
Oh, is it? I didn't catch that.
Because the synopsis I read was Catherine Hahn is the woman who's married that moves into town, and I do like her. I think she's funny in a lot of things. Yeah, she's
funny like Saturday Night Live and stuff like that.
Yeah. A married couple's relationship is put to the test when they both fall for the same professor, which is Kevin Bacon.
Okay.
So it might be one of those types of...
I didn't realize that the synopsis I read just said that she was infatuated, but I didn't realize he was.
Also, just be careful when you Google "I love Dick" space Amazon.
So it's funny.
Watch out! Just give it.
I was at work prepping for the show, and I kept typing in Iron Fist trailer, and Big Little Lies trailer, and then I was like, I Love Dick the TV show on Amazon trailer. Enter.
You don't want the IT department.
Please. You don't want to be on the same list that I'm on.
Yeah, exactly. So that kind of wraps up the list. A couple honorable mentions. The Jack Ryan show on Amazon will be great, starring John Krasinski, but there's no release date at this point. Vince Gilligan is of Breaking Bad fame, has a show on Netflix called Ozark that Jason Bateman is starring in. There's still no release date mentioned on that. And then Glow, which is the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, which is it's Allison Brie and some other women are in it. It's 80s women wrestling, and how they're competing in a man's world where with the Hogans and the Ultimate Warriors and stuff, that kind of setting. So kind of an interesting little thing if wrestling is your thing. It looks like a little bit of a comedy sort of show.
All right, here we go with another installment of The Great Debate. I will be your moderator yet again this week. But real quick, a little recap of last week's poll, or last week's debate, of whether or not there should be pay-per-views between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. Twitter was actually split right down the middle, 50-50. So I guess we'll never know whether or not WWE should have pay-per-views between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. With that being said, though, this week's debate is whether or not it is better to watch TV from a week-to-week basis like it's aired, or to binge watch it as you can on Netflix. Hoagie will be representing Team Binge this week, and Kaiser will be representing Team Weekly. Basically, whether or not you should watch a TV show all in a row or week to week like it's aired on television. The rules are very simple, and I'll go over them real quick. I will propose a topic. Either Kaiser or Hoagie will open it up. The other one will respond. The other one will get a rebuttal. And at the end, each will have 30 seconds for a closing argument. And then we will post a poll on Twitter and let you guys weigh in on it. So are you guys ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, topic number 1, and we will open with Kaiser. Tell us how suspense weighs in on watching a TV show weekly.
When you get a weekly show, you're able to leave off on a cliffhanger, and you sit there and you go, oh, what just happened? I can't believe that. And you have 7 days, sometimes even a week or 2 or longer than just those 7 days in between to digest it, to talk to your significant other, a coworker, that kind of thing, and like guess and build up and theorize, things like that. Without that, you're able to be kept in suspense over a period of, a fall, a spring, until your answers are met. And it's all about that cliffhanger suspense that really just keeps you driving week in and week out.
See how many shows does that actually, really quantify that type of necessity? So I obviously there are some shows that does apply, but I think the majority of shows these days are not going to be ones that you're going to go into work and be like, oh man, did you see that? Man, I can't wait till that next one. So I'm not going to say I disagree with Kaiser on this, or what makes talk or watching a show weekly gives that type of suspense. I think my whole thing is that if you're watching maybe 8 or 9 shows, I feel like you're really only latching onto 1, maybe 2, and even then, like, you're excited for maybe a day or 2. You're not having that same kind of feeling for 7 days. By the time it's time to watch it, you're ready to go.
Any rebuttal, Kaiser?
I could probably name 6 or 7 shows off the top of my head that I look forward to every week, and I cannot wait till the following week as I guess and theorize what's going to happen. So yes, the suspense of a weekly show is still prevalent today.
I would assume 2 Bro Girls is at the top of that list, but we'll move on. Topic 2, how does convenience play into your argument? Hoagie, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Well, I mean, binging is all about convenience. We're all grown adults. We have other shows to watch as well. There are some shows that are on the same time slots as others, and you can completely take that away by simply just watching it all at once. The other nice convenience about it too is that there's a lot of shows that I don't know whether or not I really going to be interested in it until it's time to binge it. Most of the shows that I've watched that have been on network television, How I Met Your Mother, even Big Bang Theory and other shows like that. Hell, we were talking about Game of Thrones. These were shows that never really gave me much interest when they were out live. I am now watching them normally now, but what really got me into them is being able to sit down and really digest a ton of it at once. And really the convenience about it is it opened up my eyes to actually then go ahead and watch the series moving forward.
Kaiser?
Well, it is nice to be able to sit down and binge an entire season. Being able to watch a week to week, you have a DVR these days. You can pop it in there, set it, and you can watch as you want. So the convenience is still there with the technology that's out there. You're just watching it in a longer stretch of time.
Hoagland, any rebuttal?
So really what it comes down for me is that the convenience of being able to watch a ton of shows at once versus being on a DVR. You might watch a couple because you missed a week or whatever the case may be. A lot of the very good shows, there's nothing more that I hate. I'll do the opposite of the suspense. I don't want the suspense. I want to watch the next episode. So when I'm watching House of Cards and I see something crazy happen in episode 2, I want to watch episode 3 immediately. And the other thing that I can appreciate is there's a lot of shows that people, when they're really long shows, and I have to keep on watching them in order to understand certain little things they give, little nuggets, little things that they drop in there that if you're watching it for 9 years, you might miss. You don't miss it if you binge.
Oh, yeah, I was talking about chicken nuggets. Topic number 3, and we'll open with Kaiser. Wild card round. Give us what you got.
For me, it's all about the water cooler treatment. Being able to watch a show over months at a time, you develop thoughts, you develop theories. You're able to start in September or October and not get your answers till May. And over that time, you're able to discuss with coworkers, friends, family about these shows, and not just, hey, did you see this show? Oh yeah, I know exactly how it ended because I watched the entire season in a day. Instead, you have months to discuss and think about it, and there's something special about that water cooler conversation that weekly television allows.
Hoagie, any rebuttal or bring up your own wildcard topic?
No, I can go back to what Kaiser's talking about. The water cooler thing is overrated. It's I get it that maybe you have a couple people at your work that are into the same things you're watching, but what if you don't? Where I am right now, I watch a couple of shows that nobody watches, so or at least that I'll mention about it, and no one really has anything to say about it. So for me, the idea of being able to soak in as much of the information I can, aka more episodes. It helps me generate my own knowledge of it and being able to, sit down and digest what I'm watching because I'm putting in more in at once. So to me, I'm not saying I don't have friends out here, but I don't think that I don't feel that that's such a necessity for enjoying a television show.
Kaiser, any follow up?
I mean, I'm gonna let the I don't have any friends thing speak for itself on this one.
Oh, Hoagie. Oh, jeez. All right, well, I tell you what, let's move into our closing arguments. Real quick, you will have 30 seconds, and I will cut you off at 30 seconds. Summarize all of your arguments that you made today, pose a new one, whatever you want to do. Hoagie, we'll go ahead and have you start, and that will begin now.
I think the thing that tells the most of the story is that a lot of these shows that are now bingeable, that's how people are watching them. I'm pretty sure a lot of people who are watching House of Cards aren't watching one episode and saying, you know what, I'm going to watch this next one next week. No, ultimately, if that is available, that I think, in my opinion, that is what the majority of people who are watching television really want. They're being gated by waiting a week.
All right, well done with time to spare. Kaiser, you have 30 seconds. I will cut you off if you go over. Go ahead.
Give me right now society. Something is special and sacred about watching a weekly show. It allows the suspense and the build-up. There's no spoilers, and you can sit there and enjoy it as it happens on TV without having to worry about going back and watching it a month after a show came out. Instead, you're living it live with everyone else.
All right, very well done, gentlemen. Again, we'll post a poll on Twitter. Please weigh in. We've had an astounding amount of votes, so keep them coming, and we will let you know who won next week.
At Pseudo Nerd Pod.
At Pseudo Nerd Pod on Twitter.
All right, and the final segment for us is going to be our most anticipated network TV shows, and this is, of course, things that are on basic cable or basic network shows. And I'm going to start right here with a show that debuted the first week of January, and that's NBC's Emerald City. This is sort of a loosely based modern-day Wizard of Oz with kind of like its unique twists. I personally can speak on this one because I've been watching it. It's interesting. I like some of the ways they did a couple of different things. Who Scarecrow becomes, how this person becomes the Tin Man, so to speak. A lot of unique things. You can sort of see that they got a lot of, how is Dorothy related to the people in Oz? She was there as a kid. She was born there. Who is she tied in with? So a lot of that kind of like questions that pop up. You almost feel like they're trying to do a Once Upon a Time meets Lost sort of feel to it. It's okay. I'm not crazy about it. It's a 38% on Rotten Tomatoes, but it's a 7.3 on IMDb, a 47% on Metacritic. I don't think it's going to get renewed personally. It's not doing well. It's in a death slot of a Friday night. I'm going to say you can give this one a pass. If it gets renewed, then check it out.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I could see myself watching it if it ever hits Netflix or something like that.
It's the slot for me. A Friday night primetime slot is just not good for watching for live show. Like if you're going to watch it when it comes out.
Right. The next one on the list is Powerless. This one just debuted this past week, I believe, the 2nd of February. So that would be 8 days ago from today's podcast of February 10th, 2017. And this one's kind of got a unique concept, and I say unique in that it's not unique because it's comic book related, because there's a ton of comic book related shows on television. But it sort of it's set in the DC universe, and basically what it is, it's a comedy of a company. It's a section of Wayne Enterprises, subsidiary of Wayne Enterprises, Wayne Security, and their job is basically to keep the normal day average Joes like you and I safe and protected from the destruction and mayhem that is caused from, Superman destroying a building during a fight, or they talk about everyone. Wonder Woman dropped a train, that kind of thing. And it's got a pretty entertaining cast to it. And ultimately what it comes down to is Alan Tudyk plays Van Wayne, who is Bruce Wayne's cousin. I don't know if that's considered canon or not, Haddix, if Bruce Wayne has a cousin named Van.
I don't recall, but I guess they could have brought it up at some point in some minuscule matter.
Yeah, and he's sort of like the bad boss that is like an insurance company boss that says, hey, we need to cut down on these claims, basically screw everybody else, we're looking at the bottom dollar. And Vanessa Hudgens plays the main protagonist. She's sort of the director of research and development for this company. And there's some other characters along the way. Daniel Putty from Community, he's on there. And it sort of just looks like a fun-loving kind of comedy with that superhero flair behind it. So far, it got a 57% Rotten Tomatoes, 7.5 rating at IGN, and a 6.9 at IMDb. So sort of middle of the pack, a little above average. We'll see if it sticks. I don't know at this point. But those are kind of the two NBC shows worth checking out. And then, Haddix, I'm going to let you take over the next Fox most anticipated show.
So I never watched 24. It got brought up earlier. Never seen it. Heard great things about it. Just kind of never got around to it. But apparently there's a new one coming out, or did come out. As a matter of fact, it aired after the Super Bowl on Sunday. And you might not know that if you didn't see every commercial break that they had during the Super Bowl. I understand it's on Fox, and the Super Bowl was aired on Fox, so I get that. But I personally refuse to watch this just because of how many previews they played during the Super Bowl. So
it was a little over the top.
It was ridiculous.
Literally every commercial, they're like, hey, by the way, 24 Legacy airing after the Super Bowl.
And again, I understand why. It's a Fox show. You're trying to promote your own shows. But it got to the point where it annoyed me, and so now I refuse to watch it.
I sort of remember that they did the same thing with Family Guy. They had a ton of different like funny little like vignettes and commercials throughout the Super Bowl, and then following it was the premiere of Family Guy. And I do remember a lot of people being annoyed by it as well. Not saying obviously Family Guy's still around and doing just fine. 24 Legacy will be fine. It's gonna the name will carry it for at least a season or two.
Hopefully not 204 episodes though.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, 48% Metacritic, 5.8 on IMDb, and a 2 out of 5 from the Den of Geek. So those are some not good praises for 24 Legacy. Moving off of Fox, FX has a show called Legion, which also, if you watch the Super Bowl, you would know because there was a lot of commercials for this one, as FX is a, product of the Fox network. And to be honest, I didn't give two shits about this show based on the previews and stuff. I did a little more research for this podcast, and I didn't realize that the main character, it's sort of set in the Fox X-Men universe. But they did say there's... Yeah, so this is all news to me, too. It's set in the universe, but they said they're not going to tie it in with the movies at all. So it's not... It's almost like a Netflix Marvel thing where it's going to be in the same universe, but they're not going to ever enter.
Yeah.
And the main character is Charles Xavier's son. He is a schizophrenic. It's based off an X-Men comic where this guy is a character, and the one thing they said, oh, is he gonna be Xavier's son? And they said his parentage is something we may keep still true, so he might still be Xavier's son. They just may or may not approach the topic.
Interesting.
Anyways,
Okay.
He's a mutant, schizophrenic, and it's sort of him dealing with that situation. Aubrey Plaza plays one of his friends in it. And I think that's about all I've got on it. It's, it may be worth checking out after hearing that kind of stuff. I like the X-Men, lore, so I may check out an episode or two and see if I enjoy it, but we'll see. That debuts, by the time you guys listen to it, it will have already debuted, as it debuts Wednesday, February 8th. Of course, this is Friday, February 10th, 2017.
In case you wanted to know.
Right. And then, Hoagie, I believe you had a show you wanted to add to our list here.
I did. And I had to add it on here because I feel like there's a huge fan base for this that maybe just doesn't know this yet. A lot of people know that are the fans of Dragon Ball Z. They released a new series out in Japan called Dragon Ball Super, which is it's the third installment of the series, Dragon Ball being the first, Dragon Ball Z following after, and then this is supposed to be the actual continuation of that story. There was a show before that called Dragon Ball GT, which was not written or produced at all by the original writer of the manga and the show. His name is Akira Toriyama, and he basically said that Dragon Ball GT was more of like an alternate universe type of plot, and this is what could have happened, or just like a fun little I guess fan service type of one. But this is actually supposed to be canon. This takes place just a few months after the end of Dragon Ball Z. The reason why we're bringing it up now, it's been out since 2015 in Japan, so it's already had almost 80 episodes out there. The reason why we're bringing it up now is that it just came out on Adult Swim in Toonami January 7th as far as the first episode. So it airs on 11:30 p.m. Saturday. They're airing all the the English.
That's an interesting
dub.
time slot.
Well, I mean, I think that's Adult Swim for you. I mean, that's when you're going to have those shows.
Yeah,
And it's not like
Saturday
it's gory or
night though
anything.
is different to me. Like,
Yeah.
I'm surprised it's not like a Sunday or something.
Right. But yeah, they're already on, I think, maybe episode 4 or 5. It's all the same voice actors that they had for Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Z Kai. So I've been enjoying it. My wife and I have been watching it because we've already watched all of Dragon Ball Z once before. So we're actually watching this together, looking forward to seeing the rest of it. Even though I've already watched all the Japanese episodes, but now I'm watching the English dubs with her.
There you go. And that's going to kind of wrap up our network shows. It's worth noting CBS has a Star Trek show coming out this fall. We don't know too much about it at this point, other than the guy from Hellboy and Falling Skies, Doug Jones, stars in it, as well as Sasha from The Walking Dead will be in it. The CW has Riverdale, which, if you're an Archie Comics fan, is sort of a modern take on that. It does feel like a typical CW show with the teen drama and, that sort of feel. That said,
Bunch of rich white kids.
That's it, yeah. 87% Rotten Tomatoes and 4.5 out of 5 from Den of Geek. So it's getting some high
Get ready
praises
for
so
13
far.
seasons of that.
Right? And then if you want to see Pierce Brosnan as a Texan who beats women, check out AMC's The Sun this April.
Sign me up.
So that's going to be the show. Before we totally wrap things up, guys, what is the number one show you're most anticipating? Or in case of Kyle, if it is Dragon Ball, you may have already started watching it.
Well, for me, you kind of piqued my interest there with Legion after kind of talking about that. But before that, I probably have to go with, the Iron Fist / Defenders coming out on Netflix. That's by far what I'm hyped for the most.
I'm already watching Dragon Ball Super. I already know what's going on with it, so I'm looking forward, obviously, to the dub version because my wife actually seems to enjoy watching it. So that's always cool to have something to watch with the wife. Another one that I'm going to watch with the wife is Santa Clarita Diet. I'm just looking forward to being able to just kind of. It's a show I could binge and I don't have to. So I kind of like that feeling.
All right. I thought for sure you guys might have gone with Amazon's I Love Dick, but since you didn't, we'll see. I have to agree with Haddix. Iron Fist for me. And I will, one we didn't mention, but is also kind of an honorable mention, will be ABC's coming out with Inhumans this September, setting at Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. universe. I will look forward to that one as well, but give me Iron Fist this March. And, hopefully there'll be a lot of good television series that get renewed, and some of these are, stick with it and are actually entertaining shows and not just a bunch of hyped flops. That said, what are you guys most looking forward to? Let us know. Go reach out on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. Go subscribe on iTunes and leave us that 5-star rating. Reminder, go to pseudonerdpod.com for all our social media and our blog post. And, of course, Hoagie has his YouTube gaming streams that he's been doing. And next week we'll have
I hope to have an actual schedule for that next week. Tentatively, it'll be like Sunday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
There you go. Next week we'll be back for a pseudo short, possibly a Valentine's Day special. We'll see. From the Great Lakes to the Golden Gate, I am Josh Kaiser. He is Josh Haddix, and he is Kyle Hoagland, and we will see you guys next time.
Have a good Friday.
See ya.